The autumn rain hammered against the tin roof of Marcus Webb's farmhouse with the persistence of an angry ghost. Lightning split the dark Missouri sky every few seconds, illuminating the cornfields that stretched endlessly in all directions. Marcus sat at his kitchen table, nursing a cup of black coffee and listening to the weather radio crackle with storm warnings. At 42, he had weathered enough storms to know this one was different somehow. He had inherited the farm from his grandfather and worked it alone for the past 15 years since his divorce. The isolation suited him most days. No neighbors for miles, just him and the land and the animals that depended on him. Tonight, though, the loneliness felt heavier than usual as the storm raged outside. A sound like thunder, but wrong somehow made him look up from his coffee. Through the kitchen window, he saw something streak across the sky, burning bright orange against the black clouds. It wasn't lightning. Marcus grabbed his coat and flashlight, something deep in his gut telling him this wasn't debris from the storm. The object had come down somewhere past the north pasture, maybe in the woods beyond. Marcus trudged through mud and driving rain, his boots squelching with each step. The air smelled of ozone and something else he couldn't identify, metallic and sharp. When he reached the tree line, he saw the glow-twisted metal that didn't look like any aircraft he knew lay scattered around a shallow crater. The main hull, if that's what it was, had carved a path through 3 oak trees before coming to rest against a boulder. Steam rose from the wreckage despite the cold rain. Marcus approached carefully, his flashlight beam dancing across surfaces that seemed to shimmer with their own inner light. That's when he heard the sound. Soft, rhythmic, almost musical. Like someone humming but in no language he recognized. His beam found an opening in the side of the craft, and inside something moved. She was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen, though woman might not be the right word. Her skin had a faint luminescence that made his flashlight seem dim by comparison. Long silver hair clung to her face and shoulders, darkened with what looked like blood. She wore clothing that seemed woven from starlight itself, torn now and stained. Her eyes opened as his light found her face, and Marcus felt his breath catch. They were the deep blue-green of ocean depths, with flecks that actually sparkled. She tried to speak, lips moving to form words he couldn't understand. Her voice was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze, musical and haunting. Marcus could see she was hurt, her left arm hanging at an odd angle, cuts across her forehead and cheek. Whatever she was, wherever she came from, she needed help. "There," Marcus said softly, the way he might approach a wounded animal. "I'm not going to hurt you." He kept his movements slow and deliberate as he climbed into the craft. Up close, he could see her clothing wasn't fabric at all, but something that shifted and flowed like liquid. Metal. She watched him with those impossible eyes, fear and hope warring in her expression. When he reached toward her, she flinched but didn't pull away. Her skin was warm to the touch, warmer than human, and seemed to pulse gently like a heartbeat. Marcus had delivered enough calves and foals to recognize shock when he saw it. This being, whatever she was, needed immediate care. "Going to get you out of here," he said, though he doubted she understood the words. Maybe she caught his tone, because some of the tension left her face. Marcus was a big man, 6'3" and broad-shouldered from years of farm work. He gathered her carefully in his arms, surprised by how light she felt. She made that musical sound again, softer now, and her head came to rest against his shoulder. The walk back to the farmhouse took forever with her weight in his arms and the storm still raging. By the time he reached his porch, both of them were soaked through. Marcus kicked open the door and carried her inside, laying her gently on the old sofa in his living room. She was unconscious now, her breathing shallow but steady. Marcus built up the fire and found his first aid kit, though he had no idea if human medicine would help an alien, because that's what she had to be. The craft in his woods, her luminous skin, those star-flecked eyes, none of it was from this world. As he cleaned the cuts on her face with gentle hands, Marcus wondered what forces had brought her crashing into his quiet life. Sighed. The storm began to fade, but he sensed his own storm was just beginning. 3 days passed before she fully awakened. Marcus had moved her to the spare bedroom upstairs, checking on her every few hours while she drifted in and out of consciousness. He'd managed to set her arm, which had been fractured, and the cuts on her face were healing with remarkable speed. Her skin continued to glow softly, stronger when she seemed to be dreaming, when her eyes finally opened and stayed open. Marcus was sitting in the chair beside the bed reading a farming magazine. She turned her head toward him and made a sound like a question. Her voice was clearer now, the musical quality even more pronounced. "How are you feeling?" Marcus asked, setting down his magazine. She tilted her head, studying his face with intense concentration. Slowly, carefully, she repeated his words back to him with perfect pronunciation but obvious confusion about their meaning. Over the next week, they developed a routine. Marcus would go about his morning chores while she rested, then return to sit with her and attempt communication. She learned English with startling quickness, as if her mind was designed to absorb new languages. Within days, she could manage simple conversations. "Marcus," she said one morning, testing his name on her lips like she was tasting something sweet. "Good morning, Marcus." "Good morning, ... He paused, realizing he still didn't know what to call her. She touched her chest with one slender finger. "Naya, Naya," he repeated, and she smiled for the first time since he'd found her. The expression transformed her face completely, and Marcus felt something shift in his chest that had nothing to do with her alien nature. As Naya grew stronger, she began helping around the house despite Marcus's protests. She moved with fluid grace, as if gravity affected her differently. When she touched his plants, they seemed to perk up and grow greener. The barn cats followed her everywhere, purring constantly in her presence. "Where I am from," she said one evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, "we call this peaceful feeling." She struggled for the right words. "The world is quiet inside, my world is." She gestured at the air around her head. "Always talking, always feeling others. Here is first time I feel only me." Marcus had noticed that about her, the way she seemed to be listening to something he couldn't. "Here, you can feel what others are thinking," Naya nodded. "Hey people, we share minds like you share words. But also share pain, share fear, share anger is exhausting." She looked at him with those starlight eyes. "With you is different. Way you feel ... solid. Safe." The way she said it made heat rise in Marcus's chest. He was a practical man, not given to flights of fancy, but there was something about Naya that made him feel protective and tender in ways he'd forgotten were possible. She was alien, yes, but she was also vulnerable and beautiful and sitting, close enough that he could smell the strange, sweet scent of her hair. "Naya," he said carefully, "why did you leave your world?" Her expression darkened immediately. She looked away from him toward the fields stretching into twilight. "My people, they decide I am ... dangerous, different. I can do things others cannot. Feel things others fear." Her hands clenched in her lap. "They hunt me. Try to make me like others, or..." She drew a finger across her throat in a gesture that needed no translation. Marcus felt anger bloom hot in his stomach. "They tried to kill you for being different? Not kill, change, make me empty inside so I cannot... how you say? Influence others, but changing is like dying." Tears that sparkled like diamonds rolled down her cheeks. "I steal, ship, and run. Crash here by accident, but maybe also by hope. Universe maybe knows I need safe place." Without thinking, Marcus reached over and covered her hand with his. Her skin was so warm, and he could feel a gentle vibration under her palm like electricity. "You are safe here, Naya, as long as you want to stay." She turned her hand under his so their palms touched. The contact sent a jolt through him that was part physical attraction and part something deeper, as if her alien energy was connecting with something fundamental in him. "You are a good man, Marcus Webb," she said softly. "I feel your kindness like warmth. Is a new feeling for me." They sat in comfortable silence as the first stars appeared, her hand still in his. Marcus found himself studying her profile in the fading light, the elegant curve of her neck, the way her silver hair caught starlight. He was falling for her, he realized. An alien refugee who had crashed into his quiet life and turned everything upside down. Later that night, as he lay in his bed listening to her move quietly around upstairs, Marcus wondered what he was getting himself into. But when he heard her soft musical voice singing something in her own language, he knew he was already too far gone to turn back. Whatever came next, he would face it with Naya beside him. Hearts across the stars morning, Marcus found Naya crying in the barn changed everything between them. She was sitting in the hayloft where she often went to think, tears streaming down her luminous face as she stared out at the fields. When she saw him, she tried to wipe her eyes and pretend nothing was wrong. "Bad dreams again?" Marcus asked gently, settling beside her in the hay. Over the past month, he'd learned to recognize the signs of her nightmares. The way she would wake gasping and speaking rapidly in her own language. Naya nodded, leaning against his shoulder without seeming to realize she was doing it. "They are. Closer, Marcus. I can feel them searching. It's like pressure in my head that grows stronger each day." Marcus wrapped his arm around her, pulling her against his chest. She fit perfectly there, her head tucked under his chin. "How much time do we have? Days? Maybe less?" Her voice was muffled against his shirt. "They will find the crash site soon. Follow energy trace from my ship. When they come, ... She pulled back to look at him with those star-flecked eyes. "You must let them take me. Cannot let you be hurt because of me." "Like hell," Marcus said. Firmly, "We'll figure something out. Maybe we can hide you." Or, Naya silenced him by pressing her fingers to his lips. Her touch sent that familiar electric tingle through him. "You do not understand what they are capable of. My people can do things your mind cannot imagine. They will hurt you to hurt me." Marcus caught her hand and kissed her fingertips, making her breath catch. "Then we'll have to make sure they don't find you." Something shifted in the air between them, the way it does before lightning strikes. Naya was looking at him with an expression he'd never seen before, vulnerable and wanting and almost afraid.
"Marcus," she whispered, "there is something else."
"Something I must tell you. What is it?" Instead of answering with words, she moved closer until their faces were inches apart. "Among my people, when we connect truly with another, we share more than bodies. We share essence, energy, souls. It creates bond that cannot be broken." Her hand came up to cup his cheek, her warm palm making his skin tingle. "If I give myself to you this way, you will feel what I feel, know what I know, and they will sense our connection across any distance." Marcus searched her eyes, understanding what she was offering and what it would cost them both. "You're saying if we become lovers, they'll always be able to find you?" "Yes, but also ... Her thumb traced his lower lip, making him shiver. "I will know if you are hurt, if you are in danger. And you will know me completely, as no human has ever known another being. We will be two parts of same whole." The rational part of Marcus's mind screamed warnings. This was alien territory, literally and figuratively. But his heart had already made the choice weeks ago, when he'd first held her in his arms. "Naya," he said hoarsely, "I'm already yours, have been since the night I found you." She made a sound like a sob and a laugh combined, and then her lips were on his. The kiss was nothing like any he'd experienced before. It started gentle, but quickly became something deeper, more intense, as if she was pouring her alien essence into him through the connection of their mouths. Marcus could taste starlight and ozone and something indefinably sweet. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Naya's skin was glowing brighter than he'd ever seen it. "Are you certain?" she whispered against his lips. "Once we cross this line, there is no going back. You will be part of my world forever," Marcus answered by kissing her again, deeper this time, his hands tangling in her silver hair. She responded by pressing closer, her body warm and pliant against his. When his lips found her neck, she made those musical sounds that drove him wild. Here she breathed, pulling him down into the sweet-smelling hay. "Let me show you how my people love." What followed was unlike anything in Marcus's experience. Naya's touch was electric, literally sending sparks along his nerve endings. When she kissed him, he could feel her emotions as if they were his own. Her desire and tenderness and desperate love washing through him in waves. When their bodies finally joined, it was with a connection so complete he wasn't sure where he ended and she began. The moment of joining was accompanied by a flash of light so bright it lit up the entire barn. Marcus felt something fundamental shift inside him, as if every cell in his body was being rewritten. He could suddenly sense Naya's thoughts and feelings as clearly as his own, could feel the alien energy that flowed through her now flowing through him as well. They moved together in perfect synchronization, her luminous skin painting patterns of light across the hay. Marcus had never felt so connected to another being, so complete. When release finally took them both, it was with a shared consciousness that left them gasping and clinging to each other. Afterward, as they lay entwined in the afterglow, Marcus could feel the change in himself. His vision was sharper, his hearing more acute. And underlying everything was his constant awareness of Naya, her presence like a warm current in his mind. "Now you are mine," she whispered against his chest, "and I am yours. No matter what comes, they cannot truly separate us." Marcus held her tighter, already sensing the distant pressure she'd spoken of. The alien minds searching for their bonded mate. Let them come, he thought fiercely. He would protect what was his with everything he had. Family bonds. Months after their bonding, Naya began experiencing strange symptoms that initially terrified them both. She would wake in the mornings with waves of nausea, and her already luminous skin seemed to pulse with new patterns of light. Her alien physiology made it impossible to know what was happening until the day. She pressed Marcus's hand to her still flat stomach, and he felt the tiny spark of life growing there. "Is it possible?" Marcus whispered, his hand spanning her abdomen, protectively. Through their bond, he could sense the new presence, small but unmistakably real. A unique energy signature that was somehow both human and alien. Naya's eyes filled with tears of wonder and fear. "Never in history has one of my people conceived. With another species, our healers always said it was impossible." She covered his hand with both of hers. "But our bond changed us both, made us compatible in ways that should not be. Pregnancy progressed differently than a human one would." Naya's belly grew quickly, and the child's presence in their shared consciousness became stronger each day. Marcus could feel their daughters developing awareness, her curious probing of the world around her through her mother's senses. She was active at night, responding to sounds and emotions with kicks that left glowing handprints on Naya's skin from the inside. They converted the smallest bedroom into a nursery, though Marcus had no idea what an alien-human hybrid would need. Naya guided him in creating what she called a harmony nest, using crystals from her crashed ship and soft fabrics arranged in patterns that felt soothing to both human and alien sensibilities. "She will need both worlds," Naya explained as she arranged the crystalline formations around the crib Marcus had built, human warmth and love, but also the energy connections of my people. Without both, she may not thrive. Marcus watched his mate, marveling at how pregnancy had enhanced her already otherworldly beauty. Her silver hair seemed to move with a life of its own, and her skin glowed with warm pulses that followed their daughter's movements. When she laughed, which she did more often now, despite their circumstances, the sound was pure music. But their happiness was overshadowed by the constant pressure of pursuit. Naya's people had found the crash site 3 weeks earlier. Marcus could feel their presence like a weight on his consciousness. They were methodical, searching in an ever-widening circle, following traces of Naya's energy signature that their bonding had amplified. "They know about the child," Naya said one evening, as they sat on the porch, her hands resting on her rounded belly. "I can feel their excitement and their fear. A hybrid child has never existed before. What will they do if they find us?" Marcus asked, though he dreaded the answer. Naya's expression grew distant and troubled. "Some will want to study her, understand how the bonding made conception possible. Others will see her as an abomination to be destroyed. And still others." She paused, her hand moving protectively over their daughter. "Others will want to use her. A being who bridges to species could have abilities neither side can imagine." That night, Marcus felt their daughter's first true communication through the bond. It wasn't words, but emotions and images, a sense of love and safety and belonging, that brought tears to his eyes. She knew him, recognized him as her father, despite the genetic impossibility of her existence. "She's beautiful," he whispered to Naya, who smiled and guided his hand to the spot where tiny feet were pressing against her skin. "She has your stubbornness," Naya said with a laugh, "and my sensitivity to energy. She will be remarkable, Marcus, if we can keep her safe long enough for her to grow." The next morning brought the sound they'd been dreading, the low hum of alien technology approaching the farm. Through the kitchen window, Marcus saw 3 craft descending from the sky, sleek and silver like teardrops made of liquid metal. His heart hammered against his ribs as Naya gripped his arm. "They're here," she breathed, and Marcus could feel her terror through their bond. Not for herself, but for their unborn daughter and for him. "Basement," Marcus said curtly, but Naya shook her head, useless. "They can track our bond now. Feel the child's presence. Hiding will only make them angry." She took his face in her hands, her touch warm and desperate. "Promise me, Marcus. Whatever happens, protect our daughter. She is future of 2 worlds." Before Marcus could respond, the farmhouse door simply dissolved, the wood and metal flowing away like water. 3 figures entered, tall and ethereally beautiful in the same way Naya was, but cold where she was warm. Their leader, a male with silver skin and eyes like chips of ice, surveyed the room with obvious distaste. "Naya, of the 7th Harmony," he said in English, though his accent was strange and musical. "You have caused considerable trouble." Naya stepped protectively in front of Marcus, one hand on her belly. "Jorik, I should have known they would send you. Surrender yourself and the abomination you carry, and your human mate will be spared." Jorik continued as if she hadn't spoken. "Resist, and we will be forced to take more direct action." Marcus felt something snap inside him at the casual way Jorik referred to their daughter as an abomination. Alien or not, nobody threatened his family. "Get off my land," he said, stepping up beside Naya, despite her attempt to shield him. "Jorik. Single quotes. Cold gaze fixed on him with something like amusement. "The human thinks to command us. Perhaps you need a demonstration of what you're dealing with." He raised his hand, and Marcus felt an overwhelming pressure in his skull, as if his brain was being squeezed in a vice. Through their bond, he felt Naya's anguish and rage, saw her own hand coming up to counter Jorik's psychic attack.
Our crackled.
Between them, visible as streams of light in the air, their daughter chose that moment to assert her presence, sending a pulse of pure protective instinct through both parents that magnified their connection 100-fold. The wave of energy that resulted sent all 3 alien intruders staggering backward. "Impossible," Jorik breathed, his icy composure cracking. "The child. ... She's already manifesting abilities." Marcus grinned fiercely, feeling his daughter's fierce little spirit through the bond. "That's my girl," he said, and prepared to fight for his family. A future worth fighting. Fourth battle that followed was unlike anything Marcus could have imagined. The air inside his farmhouse crackled with visible energy as Naya matched her former people's psychic attacks with her own amplified power. Their unborn daughter's presence in the bond seemed to enhance every ability Naya possessed, turning her into a force of nature that blazed with protective fury. Jorik and his companions clearly hadn't expected such resistance. They fell back toward the dissolved doorway, their faces showing shock and something that might have been fear. "The abomination makes her stronger," one of them hissed in their musical language. "This cannot be allowed to continue." Marcus grabbed the shotgun from behind the door, knowing it would be useless against these beings, but needing to feel like he was contributing to their defense. Through the bond, he could feel Naya drawing on reserves of power he didn't know she possessed, fueled by maternal instinct and desperation. Enough. Jorik raised both hands, and the temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. "You force us to use more direct methods." That's when the cavalry arrived. 3 more alien craft descended from the sky, but these were different from Jorik's ships. Instead of cold silver, they gleamed with warm golden light. The beings who emerged moved with the same fluid grace as Naya's people, but their energy felt completely different through Marcus's enhanced senses. "Stand down, Jorik, of the 3rd Hierarchy," commanded the leader of the newcomers, a female whose skin held the warm glow of sunset. This matter is no longer under your jurisdiction. Jorik's expression twisted with rage. Commander Vallana, this is my hunt. The rogue and her abomination are mine by right of pursuit. Are yours, Vallana corrected smoothly. She turned to Naya. With something like respect in her ancient eyes. Naya of the Seventh Harmony, I bring greetings from the High Council. Your ... situation has come to their attention? Marcus felt Naya's confusion and hope warring through their bond. The High Council knows about my daughter. Vallana nodded, her gaze dropping to Naya's rounded belly with wonder. News of the first successful hybrid. Conception has reached the core worlds. There are those among us who see this not as an abomination, but as evolution. A bridge between species that could benefit both. Lies, Jorik spat. Mixing with primitives weakens our bloodline, corrupts our purity. Your faction grows smaller each cycle, Jorik, Vallana said dismissively. She stepped closer to Naya and Marcus, her expression gentle. May I? She asked, gesturing toward Naya's belly, at Naya's nod. Vallana placed her palm against the curve of life beneath the fabric. Immediately her eyes widened, and she gasped. Such power, she breathed. Such perfect balance. She will be magnificent. Through the bond, Marcus felt his daughter's response to Vallana's touch. A sense of recognition and welcome that made his heart swell with pride. Their child was already choosing her allies. The High Council offers you sanctuary, Vallana continued, her hand still resting on Naya's belly. Both of you and your daughter when she comes. There are others like you now, Naya. Refugees who have found love among the humans. You could help establish a new colony, a place where both species can learn from each other. Marcus felt Nia's surge of hope and longing through their bond, but also her uncertainty. What about Marcus? She asked. He is human. Would he be accepted among our people? Vallana smiled, and the expression transformed her austere features completely. Your bond has changed him as much as it has changed you. He carries our energy signature now. In the eyes of the law, he is as much one of us as you are. I won't leave my farm, Marcus said quietly, surprising himself with the words. This is my home, my family's land for generations. Who says you must leave? Vallana asked. Earth is vast, with many isolated places perfect for a mixed settlement. Your farm could be the center of something new, a community where human agriculture feeds alien families and alien technology helps human crops flourish. The vision she painted was seductive, a future where Marcus and Naya could raise their daughter in safety while building something unprecedented. But first they had to deal with the immediate threat. Jorik had been gathering power while they talked, his form beginning to glow with cold white light. I will not allow this contamination to spread, he snarled, and unleashed a focused beam of psychic energy directly at Naya's belly. Marcus threw himself between the attack and his mate without, thinking, feeling the alien energy tear through his consciousness like shards of ice. But instead of destroying him, the attack triggered something in their bond. Their daughter's presence flared like a small sun. And suddenly Marcus could feel not just Naya's power, but the combined strength of every alien present who wished them. Well, the feedback when their united defenses met Jorik's attack was devastating. The rogue alien was thrown backward through the dissolved doorway, his form crackling with uncontrolled energy. He hit the ground hard and lay still, but is finished, Vallana said with satisfaction. Jorik's faction will trouble you no more. 3 days later, Marcus stood on his porch watching the sun set over his fields. But now those fields were tended by both human hands and alien technology. The crops growing faster and healthier than they ever had before. In the distance, he could see the construction of the first permanent shelters for the refugees who had chosen to join them. Naya emerged from the house, carrying their daughter, born the previous evening in a blaze of light that had been visible for miles. Stella was perfect, tiny and glowing softly with her mother's luminescence, but possessing her father's stubborn chin and determined spirit. She's hungry again, Naya said with a laugh, settling beside Marcus on the porch swing they installed just for evenings like this. Marcus wrapped his arm around his mate and daughter. marveling at how perfectly they fit against him. Through the bond he could feel Stella's contentment and curiosity. Her awareness of the world around her, already sharp and focused despite her age. "Think she liked growing up here?" he asked, watching as one of the alien children played with his barn cats in the yard. Enna smiled and leaned her head against his shoulder. "She loved it. Earth and stars together, just as she was born to be." As if she understood, Stella opened eyes that were the perfect blend of her parents' features. Human brown with flecks of alien starlight. When she looked at Marcus, he felt her love and recognition flow through their bond, and knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as a family. The farm that had once been a place of loneliness had become the heart of something extraordinary. As the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, Marcus Webb held his impossible family close and smiled at the future they were building together.